From Pocketnow.com, this is Pocketnow Weekly. Hello, and welcome to episode 028 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow.com where we discuss what's awesome and what's awkward in the world of mobile technology. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, and joining me this morning from 7 hours in the future is the Man of Steel, Managing Editor Anton D. Nodja. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be back.
And the man with the Optimus G, Editor-in-Chief, Brandon Miniman. Good morning to you.
Here's the thing. We started off friends. It was cool, but then it was all pretend. Yeah, since you've been gone.
Oh, no. Oh, everything just got immeasurably better. Thank you.
I was about to Shazam you.
It's actually a fun trick to play on people because it sounds like you're about to say something. Here's the thing.
It does.
We start off friends, and they're like, "Oh, you're singing Kelly Clarkson." I've done it to my wife like 11 times, and she's getting tired of it.
I was just going to say, I'm sure she appreciates that still after all those 11 times. I was wondering if it reminds me of those fake out answering machine messages from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, the answering machine picture was like, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Gotcha. I'm not actually here." That was
funny you should mention that because whenever I get a call from somebody I don't want to talk to, I answer live, but I'm playing my voicemail voice like, really? "Hi, this is Tony, and I'm not here." And then depending on what he or she tells me, I'm just back or not.
That's awesome. There used to be call screening on some cell phones that would allow you to do that. You could for 30 seconds you could listen to the person leaving the message and then decide whether you wanted to pick up or not.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome. We have a lot of announcements. We have a lot of thought thread. We have a ton of topics. This is ridiculous. I thought we were going to coast through this episode, to be honest. I mean, we're in the lull between CES and MWC, and I thought it was going to be a slow week, but absolutely not. This has been leak city. Things have been crazy. So let's jump right into it and let's get to the announcements. Pocketnow is in the middle of, still after like almost a year, is in the middle of a whole bunch of changes, 98% of which are awesome. And I'm only saying that to cover ourselves because I'm sure there are some that are not awesome, but I just can't think of it.
I was about to say, what?
I'm just like, what, 2%? But no, one of them is really, really cool, and I get to participate in it when it comes up tomorrow, but I need Tony to talk about it since it is his brainchild. So, Tony, tell us a little bit about Pocketnow Live very quickly.
Well, very quickly, everybody has been asked, or most people have asked us for a video podcast, and we decided to keep it classic because you cannot beat a classic. But we thought that how about we do something for those people and also for fun and for everybody. So Pocketnow Live will be a weekly hangout with the readers, a very casual one where we just sit down as friends, talk about all things mobile, and people just can join, say hi, ask questions, and stuff like that.
You're talking about a Google Hangout, right?
The Google Hangout, yeah, which will go live on our YouTube channel, and then once it's done, it will stay there as a recording. I will be hosting it weekly, except for when the editor-in-chief will be joining us. Then it's going to be his show. We're going to have a neat rundown, and we're going to have lots of fun.
Yes, we are. And now we already had kind of the pilot episode last week, and I was not on the air. I think I was filming our commercial at the time, but it looked like a ball. I watched about the first 5 or 6 minutes of it. And I thought two things. First I thought, I really want to be on the air. And I kept, shooting emails to all three of you guys.
Remember the email you sent?
Let me on the air! Yeah. So annoyed. But I was so jealous of Brandon's fake sunglasses and Jaime's devil horns and Anton's real cigar.
Yeah, that was not an avatar.
No, it wasn't.
That was not a prop.
And actually I have some Honduran cigars from Jaime, so I too could join in the cigar smoking.
No, those are for me.
What? No, those are. Oh, no, those are your prop? I'm going to be stepping all over your
you were
shtick?
Supposed to bring them to me to Barcelona.
No, they're for me. Oh, are they? Wait. I was like, wait a minute.
We'll settle this offline.
All right, that sounds good. But so good. I'm very much looking forward to my first time on Pocketnow Live. But just as a clarification, and thank you, Tony, for saying what I forgot to, the weekly is, for now and for the foreseeable future, going to remain an audio-only podcast. So if you want to see our faces, we are very flattered, and thank you. Continue listening to the weekly, but watch Pocketnow Live as well.
And Pocketnow Live is not a video pod.
No, it is not a video
Let
phone.
me be clear. It is something totally different and unique and less structured.
Exactly. It's not just going to be the weekly redux. It's much more casual and just an entirely different kind of fun. So that aside, Pocketnow Live announced. We are going to jump into our thought thread, which I had a broad idea for today, but then Brandon had a better idea, which was more specific. We like specificity, and incredibly, we like LG. Brandon, take it away.
LG. So I was using the iPhone 5 since it came out. And it's gotten to the point where the iPhone 5 makes me feel bad inside because it's so boring. The hardware's great. It's thin. We've been here before. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go back to Android. I miss Android. I feel like half the year I'm on an Android, half the year I'm on iPhone, and half the year I'm on Windows Phone. That doesn't make sense. I really like the Nexus 4, but there are two big problems with the Nexus 4 that makes it impossible for me to use. The first one, the biggest thing, is the touch sensitivity issues. And people that have the Nexus 4 say, what are you talking about? It's perfectly fine. Yeah, if you use it for long enough, you're going to get used to it. But if you're like me that switches phones a lot, you really notice these things. And so that was a big issue. And the other issue was the lack of LTE. Well, it just so happens that the world has created a phone that solves both of those problems, the Optimus G on AT&T. And I was at an AT&T store the other day, and I'm like, I wonder if the touch sensitivity issue is not there. And it should be there, right? Because it's the same phone, but it's not there, which is kind of weird. And then, of course, it has LTE. But I wasn't up for a new contract, so I paid like $400 to buy this phone. This is very unusual for me to do, to buy a phone off contract that's so expensive, but I really wanted it. And I'm really glad I have it. It really feels, it's so fast. The battery life is boss. Like yesterday, it was off the charger for 14 hours. I was using it heavily. And it's funny because when you have a phone that has a really good battery life, you start doing things differently. Like I've got the craziest live wallpaper I can think of. My screen brightness baseline is 75%. So it goes between 75 and 100%. And 14 hours later, I was still with 27% battery life after using it heavily.
And
it's nice.
And if I may, when you're running that live wallpaper on the Optimus G, as I recall, it doesn't impact its performance at all.
Yeah. That S4 Pro is just a sexy beast. Mm-hmm. So it is fast. It's a little boxy. It's the only thing I like, and it's also very fragile. It has the glass on the front and glass on the back. But I love this phone. It's the biggest downside is that it's still an ice cream sandwich, but it feels like it's got jelly bean, which is strange. Everything's so smooth and responsive, and I don't think. And also another downside is the development story is pretty terrible because not many people have purchased the Optimus G. So there's no CyanogenMod 10 for it yet. There aren't that many cool custom ROMs, but I'm really digging this thing. Like I can see myself using this for a while.
I think that was going to be my question. Like, I also dig it, and I understand exactly why you dig it. But can you see yourself using it for an extended period? Like, it seems to be far enough away now from the cutting edge, considering its delayed Jelly Bean introduction and all that kind of stuff. Like, are you missing any of that? Are you missing the expandable notifications and you're missing out on some Google Now enhancements too, right?
Well, here's the thing. We started. Yeah, I am. I miss the extended notifications and I miss Google Now. To answer your first question. The way I was thinking about this was that my next phone is going to be probably the HTC M7 because I want that Droid DNA but faster thing with better hardware and so forth. And I want the 1080p screen and 5 inches. I can do that on a tall kind of phone that's not a phablet. But the problem is the M7 is probably not going to get released until March, and I can't wait these 2 whole months or whatever it is, 3 months until that. So that's why I got the Optimus G.
Cool. So it's a stopgap phone, but it is a luxury stopgap. It's one that you're really enjoying using.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome, and good on LG. And we have actually some news that I think we can kind of leap into this if we want to, because LG has some news that I just can't believe. You are not the only one, Brandon. I think there have been a million Optimus G phones sold worldwide so far. But more importantly, LG has just announced that it managed to steal the second place spot in total phone shipments from Apple in the United States for December 2012.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. The Optimus G is literally the only smartphone that, if you ask me right off the top of my head, tell me an LG smartphone, is the only one I can think of. I know there are others, and if I tried a little harder, but it's not on retail shelves. It doesn't have a big visual presence. It has almost no marketing support or advertising support here in the States, at least in my area. And yet for December, they were second on smartphone shipments or phone shipments. Tony, it's
smartphone.
It's smartphones?
Yep.
I thought this was including their dumb phones. Then this makes even less sense to me. This is coming from what? The Counterpoint Research?
Yonhap News Agency has a report on the Counterpoint Research report. So it's basically a research report based on analytics. And just a small clarification.
Please.
This is not the first time that LG snatches the second place from Apple. LG was ahead of Apple before the iPhone 4S. It's the iPhone 4S that managed to get Apple on the second place, pushing LG to the third. And ever since the iPhone 4S until recently, Apple's been sitting on the second with LG in the third. And now, probably with the iPhone 5 selling slower than the Optimus G, LG took back the second place. But if you look at the differences, it's just 1% between them. So it's 13% for LG and 12% for Apple. It's not a huge difference, but the fact itself that LG is second is an excellent news, because the U.S. market is dominated by South Korean companies. Samsung leads, LG is the second, and then Apple is the first company, which happens to be a U.S. company, which is right there in the top three, but on the last spot.
Right. I just had no idea that LG was moving this many units. I've never seen an Optimus G in the wild. I've certainly never seen a View in the wild. It's stunning to me. I think and I don't think we're the only, judging from the comments, I don't think we're the only ones surprised by this.
The Optimus G was basically a phone for the U.S. market. Of course, it was available in Canada, Japan, and in its home turf in South Korea, but the U.S. market was its main market. And I think from those 1 million phones sold, the majority is on the U.S. market.
Right. We've got, speaking of the Optimus G, I don't want to get too far away from this, because the Optimus G Pro has been confirmed for Japan, which will kind of help them build this success even further, we think. This thing, I guess the improvements in the Pro, Tony, this is your story as well, is that it packs a faster version of the S4 Pro at 1.7 gigahertz.
That is true, and even though LG had no official wording or information about this phone, it's again Japanese carrier NTT Docomo who confirmed this phone as part of its 2013 lineup. And in that confirmation, we have some specifications coming from the carrier and not from the manufacturer itself. Okay. So 1.7 S4 Pro, 5-inch Full HD, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 internal storage, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking we'll probably see this phone in Barcelona at MWC. LG's a little bit silent because they want to show this off. They want to capitalize on the show, but NTT Docomo had to mention it as part of their lineup, together with the Xperia Z tablet.
Can I just say something here, or ask a question?
Please.
So this phone is going to Japan, and we haven't talked about Japan much. The perception I've always had was that in Japan it's already like the year 2050, like they have all this advanced technology.
Yeah, Japan gets the cool stuff.
Yeah.
But wait a sec. Do they have phones that are several generations ahead or something? I don't think so. I mean, like, this is the best phone they're getting, which is a phone that's coming to the U.S. this year. It seems that the phone technology in Japan is at the same pace as the U.S., isn't it?
They have some specifics, market specifics. For instance, every Japanese phone I've covered most probably still has an infrared port and a TV tuner. Mm-hmm. But that aside, I'm not sure the Optimus G Pro will get to the US. Just think about the Samsung Galaxy S3 Alpha, which is the S3 on steroids for the same carrier in Japan. That's a Japan-specific phone.
Okay,
so they have slight upgrades, but not huge difference. It's not a huge leap between the rest of us and them.
Yeah. That's what I think it is. I mean, it's not like the Optimus G Pro has a 16-core processor with 128 gigabytes of RAM and like a 4K screen. I mean, these specs are all specs that we'll see in the M7. So I would love to know if there's something besides the over-the-air TV tuner, which is built in every phone in Japan. Which is, who cares about that? You stream it over the internet and pick what you want to watch.
They do.
Right.
They do. But you know what I mean? Like, there's always this perception of, like, it's so futuristic over there, but I don't think that's the case anymore.
I think that used to be the case. I think that they were always ahead. And we started to reach parity in the years following the iPhone release. And I remember when the iPhone, the original iPhone was released in Japan, it actually, now I might be wrong on this, but I don't think it was a very big seller. And it took a long time. It was a very slow burn over there for that to become a popular device, and now it is. So I think there's a big cultural gap there, but I think that the disparity between, Japan's lead on the rest of the world as far as smartphones go is not anywhere near as wide as it used to be.
I think you're right.
Go on.
I was going to say, and if you look at some older technology, or I guess modern technologies, I think like NFC was ubiquitous in Japan like 10 years ago. I mean, people were using it to make payments and so forth. And it took, like some of those technologies, it took the U.S. a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. But besides that, I don't think there's anything to speak of.
I was about to say that I'm going to take both of your thoughts and take them even further. About the only phone maker which comes from Japan, it's Sony, which is relevant. I mean, are they huge? No. Are they in the game? Yes. But they have so many other players like Panasonic, Sharp, if I recall well. These are all Japanese companies, and they are not relevant on the landscape. So and they, as far as market is concerned, they are a great market, but manufacturers from Japan are not doing that well on international markets.
I want to, just to bring it back to the Optimus G Pro really quickly, I'm so very disappointed in this design, and I hope we get a different one, because it's essentially the Optimus G with, it looks like maybe a little bit wider radius corners. And
it's got a home button.
It's got a home button. Don't get me started.
Looks like the SGS3.
Yeah, well, the real disappointment is the back, because the Optimus G that we're familiar with has this wonderfully patterned back that really serves to set it apart from every other device. If you look at it, I mean, it reflects light in a very curious way. It's a little like the Nexus 4, whereas this press image we're seeing seems to suggest it's just a matte finish, regular old back. It's like they took the one special thing about the Optimus G's physical hardware and removed it for the which makes no damn sense to me. Go ahead.
That could have been LG's thing, but it looks like on the G Pro the back is removable, in which case they can't do the cool backing.
That, plus don't forget, this is a carrier phone. I'm willing to bet my Buffalo nickel that the Optimus G Pro from NTT Docomo will be different from the Optimus G Pro, which will be sold internationally.
I hope that is true, and I'm sure that is true. And yeah, and there's a white one, but I think having a removable battery doesn't preclude you from doing some cool stuff. Like Samsung did it on the Ativ S with that fake metal. There's another phone that I'm thinking of that I can't remember right now that did something cool with a removable battery door. So you can do something cool with it.
Speaking of removable battery, I was curious to see. I think it was you, Michael, at CES that was swapping batteries. Is that right?
Yeah, on my Note 2. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My question is, how did you charge that second battery?
I was using Jaime's Note 2 because he wasn't using it because he was using the 8X. So I was like, hey man, can I borrow your Note 2 to charge my other battery? Because I didn't have a separate battery charger for it. So.
Oh, so it's not, you don't have like a little
no
cage thingy.
Which I would do if the ports were standardized on batteries and I could use it for more than one model. But all the battery sizes are different, so can't. Yeah.
Yeah, every time I hear people scoff at non-removable battery, I scoff at that because I don't want to ever
charge. Yeah.
I don't want to ever have to like that's not a good experience.
No, it's a lose-lose because you're charging one battery, and then you take it out and you charge another one, and then you leave that second one in the phone, and then you have this fully charged lithium-ion battery sitting out for days, and that's not good for it. They prefer to be charged at about half charge, or at least last time I checked the science a couple years ago.
40%, yeah.
Yeah, 40%. So I mean. And it's inconvenient, and yeah, it's kind of annoying. But I got to tell you, and I wrote a piece saying that too. I was like, everybody stop whining and use external battery packs. Stop whining about it. They have to do this. But I got to tell you, despite the inconvenience on the charging side, it is really nice just to be out, on the trade floor or wherever, and your phone powers down. You just swap in a new battery rather than plugging in this ungainly thing.
Imagine having a battery which will go through 1 day of heavy usage without you swapping batteries or charging constantly.
Now you're just
that's the world I want to live in.
Now you're just having a pipe dream. I got close to that with the Note 2 actually, but no luck at CES. That's a phone killer. Are we talking enough about Galaxy devices? Can we jump into the biggest rumor of the week? I think.
Still from South Korea?
Still from South Korea. We got word that, and there's no update on this, that the render of the official image of the Galaxy S4 may have broken cover on Picasa like a month ago, and nobody noticed until like the other day. Now this is like buried in rumor. It shows a device very similar to the Galaxy S3 with more squared off corners, a bigger home button, yay, and kind of the typical TouchWiz nature UX UI. And there's a lot of qualifiers on this. We don't know if it's real. If it is, I just want to come out and say it. I am bored already.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to do it again. No, seriously. Here's the thing about the Galaxy S4. Samsung has two choices. One is to make a device that looks like the Galaxy S3 that resonates with people, the millions and millions of people that now know what a Galaxy S3 looks like, or they could do something different. And I think for a company that has sold so many millions of devices, that is profit focused, it makes more sense to go with the first option. It's safer, and people are still going to buy it. I mean, there's going to be a group of people that say this design is tired and boring, like you, Michael. But most people, mom and pop, will be like, oh, it's another one of those newfangled Galaxies. It's the new Galaxy.
Yeah, but there's a fine line there, right? Because, I feel like if you can do that if you're taking the design forward. You can do that if you're iterating and you are doing something new with an existing design. But it looks like if this is true, which, it might not be, if this is the real design, it's kind of like they took the Galaxy S3 and someone said, now you guys went crazy with that there Pebble design. Let's just take it on back a bit. And it looks like some kind of cross between a Galaxy S2 and a Galaxy S3. It looks like a step backward to me.
I'm sure that this is a fake one.
You are.
First of all, as somebody commented on this post, Samsung never uses battery percentage icons in its renders. Plus, we have the same TouchWiz UI. Samsung always launches new TouchWiz UIs. But just to get back to your design points, guys, I would agree that it would be normal or natural to go with this design if Samsung looking the same way. I mean, the Galaxy S3, the Note 2, the S3 Mini, about every recent Samsung tablet or any device coming from Samsung is using the same design principle. And I think that this is what they do. They come up with a new design every year, use the same design language for all phones on that lineup, and then next year bring a refresh. So I'm out of Buffalo Nickels, but if I had another one, I'd say we'll see a completely new Galaxy S4 with a new design.
I hope you are correct, and I would not choose to argue with you on that. And this does have, it rings kind of odd, this particular render. And I agree with you that they would probably show something a little bit more bombastic on the software side. And I didn't know that about the battery percentage clue. So thank you for that.
Well, something else to consider is that if you click the Picasa link, it's now taken down.
Oh, it is?
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
That could mean one of two things. Either that there's been a takedown notice, or cease and desist, and this is close to the truth. He had his share of fun, and that's it.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of speculation on that. We're not really, probably not real, but we have more speculation. So don't worry about it.
We have more of those.
Exactly. In a piece, I think aptly titled, Tony, more Samsung Galaxy S4 rumors and speculation. What is going on? We have a name, we have a code name kind of released, or not released, but speculated upon, called Project J? What's going on?
Project J is an old project which was rumored back in the day and led everybody to believe that because of the shape of letter J, the Galaxy S4 might have a bendable screen. That's debatable, but apparently Project J has been recently renamed to Altius, or in Latin Altius, which means higher. And there are lots of reports, but one of them specifically claims that there will be a larger 2600 milliamp hour battery with wireless charging capabilities. Yes, Michael, your prayers have been answered.
Yes.
And the model number will be GTI 9500, which is not a huge surprise. Plus, then there come the other speculations, which probably everybody can think about. The Exynos 8-core CPU, which was announced at CES, a 4.99-inch Full HD display, which again was announced at CES, but nothing is for certain.
So that's interesting. I mean, well, these kind of spec bumps are expected, as you say, and the GTI 9500 is no surprise to anybody. 2600 milliamp hour battery gets me a little excited. That sounds pretty cool. And of course, the wireless charging. I feel like it's odd because I feel like if we were having this conversation at this exact time last year, and I've written some editorials to this effect, like wireless charging was so the pipe dream, and now it has, in a very short time, to my eternal delight, it has become the new thing that everyone wants to have, or that some carriers are demanding that phones have. I think Verizon is playing a very big part in this, in the United States. So I just want to say I'm happy. I'm very happy to see that, and I wish that Samsung had delivered more completely on its promise to launch a wireless charging solution for the Galaxy S3, because it still hasn't globally. It's still, we've yet to see that.
Which is surprising. I mean, it's become pretty standard. We just need some hot and sexy wireless charging devices, like that thing you sent me a link, Michael. What was that?
Oh yeah, the Tilt
It's like a
View.
sled.
Yeah, it looks like if you took like a check mark and brought it into the real world as a 3D thing. I mean, I can't even explain it. It is so peculiar in its shape, and it's multicolor. There are many colors offered. It looks like it's just custom designed to match your HTC Windows Phone 8X or 8S or your Nokia Lumia, whatever, any of the multicolored ones. We should be getting review units of these, so I will be sure to let everyone know once it comes in. So you should definitely follow us on Twitter, listeners, if you don't do that.
And on Facebook.
And on Facebook. I don't mean to keep dismissing Facebook. Tony runs that Facebook campaign like a champ. I occasionally want to answer our own trivia questions or our own preference questions. Like, when was the last time?
Most of those come from Brandon.
Do they?
Yep.
Oh, well then, good on both of you. We're not done with Samsung speculation. We still have word of a possible, what I think is a very, very accurate possibility for the Galaxy Note 8.0. And we have written some pieces on this. We've been covering, this is one of the most fiercely rumored devices because Samsung has basically come out and said that they're going to drop it on us at MWC. And
they had to fill in the gap with the S4. I mean, no S4, but Note 8.
Exactly, right. Yeah, they couldn't just pull another CES where they're like, here's this TV and the tweeting refrigerator. They needed to do something mobile. And this Galaxy Note 8.0, if you haven't seen it, looks a lot like the Samsung Nexus 10, except built for a portrait built in portrait style, and this particular example is white.
And the screen resolution is terribly low.
Even for the size? What is the screen resolution? It's
1280
by 800.
By 800 is not good enough.
Yeah.
Especially with a pen input device where you're drawing diagonal lines, if you're into that kind of thing. It's going to look like a staircase.
Input. Let's talk about that, because the S Pen is just bound to be included on this sucker because it's a Galaxy Note. It would just be stupid if it weren't. But I did not necessarily think that they could fit an S Pen into a device that looks as slender as this one does. And maybe it's a little thicker than I think. Do we have a measurement on this?
I was about to talk exactly about this.
Yeah, please.
Those of you who watched the previous pilot version of the Hangout last Friday, when I held the iPad mini in my hands, Jaime Rivera said that I make this device look small. I have huge hands. I'm getting a fair grip of the iPad mini, and the iPad mini is exactly 200 millimeters. That is 7.87 inches in width. But this Galaxy Note 8.0 is 211.3 millimeters, so that's 11 millimeters more. I have huge hands. I'm not sure I'll be able to hold that with one hand. That's going to be a problem because I see that it has a headset at its top.
Haha. And yeah, if this mock-up actually, I'd believe it. And Michael, if you look closely at the back of it, in the bottom left corner in that image that you're looking at, you can see the little stylus.
Yep,
There is a little
crevice. Crevasse.
There also looks to be some sort of earpiece on the top above the screen.
I applaud that. Finally, somebody's been answering my prayers, but please let me keep it with one hand. Let me hold it. I can't hold it that much. 211 is too much, even for my huge hands.
I wish we were joined by Joe on this episode, the former live tweeter of the podcast, Joe Levi, because this looks a whole lot even more like something out of Star Trek Voyager, and maybe that's why I'm inclined to like it. This thing's been getting a lot of hate in the comments though, because I don't know, people are not liking this this render for whatever reason, or excuse me, not render. This leaked photo, this design.
I do.
I like it. I do too. Yeah. I mean, you've got a slight bulge. It's like you turned a Nexus 10 on its side and slimmed it down.
But interestingly, I didn't like the Nexus 10.
You didn't like the Nexus 10? Well, maybe you're a portrait kind of guy.
Well, maybe.
We'll know a lot more about that as we get closer to MVC. But let's jump into HTC if nobody has an objection.
No, please do.
Because while we're talking about leaked shots and renders and all that kind of stuff, we talked a little bit last week on the podcast about the render of the M7 that had leaked, and the images that have since become public, or whether on purpose or not, have shown a very, very different device.
Then that leaked render. That leaked render was not. That was like from 1994, I think.
It was pretty bogus, right? But it excited me because that previous leaked render was it had some cool design elements, like it suggested the edge-to-edge screen, and it had those drilled-out holes on the top and bottom.
And the bottom. Cool symmetry.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like something different. And this one, if I hadn't seen that, I'd be pretty stoked about this M7. But I did see that, so now I'm looking at this, what could be the M7, and I'm like, oh wow, you guys did the Droid DNA except more rectangular.
It's the Droid DNA, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
It's not. It is for you guys, but you guys have seen it in the States. The rest of the world has not. So it's exciting for all the other people who live on this planet.
Well,
7 billion minus 200 and something million.
No, because you have to remember, China has the butterfly, and Japan has the butterfly J. Those are the same device. No, it doesn't. It looks exactly the same as the DNA.
No, yeah, but it doesn't look exactly the same as the M7 render.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
or the Pic.
Are you amped on it? Are you excited?
Yeah. I couldn't wait for this design and this form factor to get to Europe. I mean, I was drooling over the Droid DNA like crazy last year.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to find this phone in Europe and get it.
You going to use that Beats audio?
No. I'm just gonna disable and use my super high-end earplugs.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about the software in this, because physically I don't want to go back and forth on whether or not this is real or not or whatever. But look at this. Look at Sense 5.
It is so nice.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. It's very, very pared down from what we've come to expect from Sense.
It's flat. It's like Windows 7 to Windows 8.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And with that comes efficiency in terms of the data that fits on the screen. Like the folders are outlined by this gentle outline and not this thick, crusty thing. It's just.
Yeah.
I've always really liked Sense, but the keyboard, every button has a little shine to it, and it's like, well, why do you need a shine? Is there a light on behind me? It's this is this makes me even more excited about the M7 because, for example, HTC I think has the best email client. It's just so pretty.
Oh, it is really good, isn't it? Yeah.
So this is good.
I agree, and I think the story of the M7 now, if we are to believe these rumors, is going to be software, and it's going to be Sense 5. And really that's where the focus should be on an HTC device right now, because we talked so much almost a year ago about how much we loved the One X's hardware and the One X's display, and not so much the camera, but you can't have everything, but the polycarbonate we liked a lot and all that. But really what held it back for most of us, I think, was Sense and being laggy and slow, even though they had slimmed it down a lot. And if what we're seeing this from Sense 5 is at all accurate, it's going to be beautiful. And if HTC has managed to solve the responsiveness woes, which, by the way, they did quite a bit in the Droid DNA, if you remember from my review, they could have a real winner on their hands with this sucker. So I'm very amped.
They
guys,
could.
Good.
Oh, go ahead.
Go. I was about to wrap it up.
Okay, since you said go 17 times, I'm gonna go.
Go!
The problem is that competitively, unless there's a killer feature, you're going to have the HTC M7, you're going to have the Galaxy S4, you're going to maybe have the G Pro or some variant of it, all with almost the exact same specs, hardware that's not that different. And what's going to make these devices stand out is the marketing push, which hopefully HTC will do. And if there are any killer features, which we haven't seen killer features in a very long time. I mean, maybe PureView in the Lumia 920, or let's name some other killer features. Lightness in the Galaxy S4,
beautiful displays. Even like hardware side, yeah. Incredible camera performance on non-PureView devices. Battery longevity.
Like the Droid Razr Max, which probably hasn't sold very well, but it's going to need one of those to stand out.
I just hope HTC won't throw out another guy using the phone from the airplane.
Oh God, that commercial was annoying. It was on all the time in the way that the Samsung spots are, but it was just not as cool somehow. I don't know. Such a cool concept, though.
I'm telling you, if they bring back we always talk about this, if they bring back the U campaign.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, I will probably burst into tears just from the sentimentality, if that's a word. I'm like, yes, my phone is the first thing I see in the morning, the first thing I see at night.
I love that. God, that's my favorite ad campaign of all time. HTC, please bring back the U campaign. It is so amazing.
So I was about to say, word on the virtual street is that the HTC M7 will not be launched at MWC.
Oh, right.
But it will be launched earlier than MWC, somewhere around February 19th, most probably in London or somewhere else, at a dedicated special HTC event. Now, if this thing turns out to be true, then HTC is joining the elite of Apple and Samsung and other companies who are making dedicated special events, which will suck for you and me, Michael, because we'll both be inbound to Barcelona, but we'll probably see the phone at the show floor. So this is just a rumor right now, but prepare for this to happen.
It used to be that we could spend our travel budget on going to a few events a year, but now we're going to go to like 20.
I know.
Yeah.
And and I get, and we talked a lot about this at CES, and I get why companies do that, but it does make it a little less convenient, doesn't it? We were just we were talking about another one, but I won't get into that right now until we get confirmation that we are attending. The last piece of news in the Android section for us is this Sony leak, which appears to foretell a phablet entry of their very own at 6 inches or a little over 6 inches, 6.44 inches.
Please stop.
That is huge. That's huge for a phone.
Isn't that massive? But you know what? Whereas I wasn't excited when Huawei did it with the Ascend Mate at 6.1 inches, I could get excited about a Sony phablet because I feel like the company has a real eye for design, as we saw with the Xperia Z and ZL, and about 1 billion phones before that.
I'm getting glad that we're starting to we keep seeing OEMs go bigger and bigger, but there's a point at which they can't, no one's going to do a 7-inch phone because it's physically impossible. So we're almost there to where we can stop seeing this madness. But I kind of agree with you, Michael. I think if there's one company left that can do a massively sized phone, I want to see Sony do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And all we have really is this picture of this gloved hand in a lab holding the display glass. It's just, it is massive, isn't it?
That hand got fired.
Yeah. That's that hand.
Everyone put your hands out.
It would give it. Let's see. The rumored is it's 1080p, kind of like it would have to be, right? And so, but at this size, the pixel density would be closer to 340 ppi instead of,
which is good.
Still good. It's still very good. Yes, absolutely. But I like how Stephen puts it in this in the article. He says, as you can see from the pic, it's not so obscenely large that you'd struggle to hold it, assuming that its frame doesn't add too much to the model's width. But it could still be a bit of an adjustment. Yes, I would say so. It's monstrous. So till we hear more about that, we can put that to bed. But I just didn't want to leave Sony completely out of the news this week as we continue to reel from their fun announcement at CES. So let's jump into Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. And kind of tackle the rest of this news here. There's something from just this morning. I was so excited because I didn't think there was much Windows news. But then I was like, Tony, what are we going to talk about? And he's like, yeah, we just posted the story this morning. This is the most exciting rumor I personally have come across. You can hear it in my voice. I sound 6. Tony, tell us about the real PureView Windows phone. That is the Nokia EOS, which is not going to be the name at all.
Canon's going to sue. But here's the thing. When Nokia announced the Lumia 920 with PureView technology, we wrote an editorial about the fact that the PureView technology on the Lumia 920 is not PureView, because the PureView 808, we know how it functions, and the Lumia 920 doesn't function like that, but it has optical image stabilization. And Nokia reassured everybody that there's PureView 1 and PureView 2 and PureView Lite and PureView XXL and blah, 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 but it's the real PureView. Now, the thing is that according to some The Verge sources, we will apparently see the real PureView Windows Phone, which will hopefully be announced at MWC together with 5 other Lumia devices. It will pack a sensor similar to the one in the 808 PureView, which begs for a question. If it's going to be a 41 megapixel sensor, will Windows Phone 8 support that huge resolution in its camera application? If not, how will they overcome this? But that's another topic. And it will apparently be made, just like the iPhone 5, entirely from aluminum, and it will be a fully high-end premium phone. AT&T is going to have it sometime this year. So that's all we know at the moment about this. And, of course, Windows Phone on board. This is the phone that I wanted when I heard it, before I heard about the Lumia 920. When I knew there was a PureView device coming to Windows Phone, and I don't think I'm alone, this rumor is the phone that I wanted, that I hoped for, that I half expected to come. And I was, like many, I was pretty disappointed by the 920 not being an actual PureView device, quote unquote. So nothing could get me more excited than this rumor. If this is not true, I will just shut myself in the booth by myself for a day and kind of weep quietly. I will buy this the minute it becomes available. I'm so excited about this. Go ahead, Brandon. Did you have something to say?
How did you know?
You take that intake of breath. Right. I know you.
I just thought of something unrelated that we didn't talk about in the Android section, but I'm going to bring it up real quick. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Google announced earnings, and I don't know who it was. Eric Schmidt was talking about 2 things that they see as an opportunity in mobile. And he was talking about how phones still aren't good enough and everything. And people thought that he was referring to the Motorola X or whatever. But he said 2 things. One is that the obvious, that phone battery life is still not that good. And so that tells me that, this mystery Motorola phone will probably have amazing battery life. But then he said something that people don't really talk about, which is that when you drop your phone, it shouldn't, become destroyed. As if a future Motorola phone might have some sort of indestructible quality where you can't crack the screen, it's resilient to falls.
That is entirely unsurprising to me. I don't mean unexciting, I mean unsurprising, because Motorola has always focused heavily on excellent hardware as far as durability goes. They're one of the only carriers that do that internal board coating to waterproof their devices. They've always been really rugged, and also they've had a big focus on battery life for like 2 years. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
You guys think that this is a hint for the new Motorola Superphone for the X?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I do.
Probably.
Yeah. No, it's good that you brought that up. I mean, no, totally. We've talked about kind of my love for Motorola and where it comes from and stuff. But I mean, the company doesn't do everything right, but man, they do durability and battery life better than almost anybody else. So that'll be exciting to see.
My Nexus 4 just slid off the table.
Did it just walk away? Is your Optimus G? Does it have a case on it yet?
No, it doesn't, and it's a little bit better with walking off the table. It still happens, but not as much for some reason.
Before we just to bring us back to this the Nokia Windows Phone thing. I will say that despite being disappointed by the Lumia 920's camera not being the 41 megapixel beast of the 808 PureView, I yesterday, took it around town and took some photos with it alongside the Galaxy camera. And that resulted in a comparison video that is up right now, in which almost every commenter has agreed that the Lumia 920 pictures, despite having a narrower field of view and despite being a little artificially warm, are much better than the Samsung device's pictures. Now, I don't necessarily agree, and the comment sections are always kind of flooded with very vocal Windows Phone fans.
Yeah.
But I have to say that, barring all that, throwing all that out the window, the 920 still takes very, very good pictures for a smartphone. So
that's until it's going to meet my 808 PureView in Barcelona.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, now that is where we're doing our Galaxy camera versus 808 PureView comparison video, right? Barcelona?
Yeah. Yep.
That's going to be some of the best scenery ever seen in any of our comparison videos. So I can't wait. Let's see. Can we jump into the Microsoft Windows Phone 7.8 SDK has been released for all the poor people still stuck on Windows Phone 7 hardware. You're about to get small tiles. And actually, this story came out yesterday, but I think since then a new story has come out indicating that the 7.8 package itself is actually sitting on Nokia's servers waiting for carrier approval. So this should be happening, right now.
I feel for the guys who are still stuck with the Lumia 800s and the 900s, and for all the others who will get the 7.8, but somehow I'm failing at becoming excited about this.
Yeah, it's not terribly exciting, but it is. You know what? But it is though. It's exciting if you're one of those people, right? And I feel for them too. But if you dropped a bunch of money on an 800 or a 900. You don't necessarily have the time you didn't have the money to buy a 920, when it came out 10 months later or whatever it was. So
yeah, but you'll buy a new Windows Phone 8 once your contract expires because you can't sit with 7.8 forever.
No, you can't. But it's good that they're able to customize their home screens a little better now. And I actually, for all the bunk I gave smaller live tiles when Windows Phone 8 was announced, I can't imagine going back to just full-size tiles now. I mean, it's so much more efficient, the use of space on my screen now, despite my gap teeth, Who's excited about the Surface Pro?
Well, apparently Jaime's not. I'm excited to read his tantalizing article entitled, "This is why I'm no longer excited about the Surface Pro."
Oh, no. Wait, is that up?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I love it.
That's going to need some heavy moderation.
That sure is.
Better
I told him to prepare his handkerchief or whatever to just wipe off the amount of phlegm which will fly his way.
Yeah. Oh God, one of his last Windows Phone pieces, a couple days ago, had. Last time I checked, it had 160 comments after a very short time. God, boy.
Oh boy.
So let me start about the Surface because I'm going to end very, very quickly about it.
Uh-huh.
I am excited because it's a computer. It's not a tablet. And having a computer in this form factor is excellent for mobility. It's like having macOS running on the iPad. It is, from this point of view, an excellent solution for those who want to be pros and having a mobile computer with them, and which is not a laptop. And I also agree with the price. $900, $1,000 is an okay price from my perspective here in Romania. And I'm going to say exactly why it's not from your perspective. Here in Romania, the Lumia 920 goes for $1,000, just as the iPhone 5. So I would gladly pay $1,000 for the Surface Pro. But if I think of it from a U.S. perspective, because I'm a Romanian working at a U.S. company, I have to think both ways. This is a huge price to pay for a tablet.
Right, it is, and that's why I think they're going to have to make the case at Microsoft stores and at Best Buys and partner dealers, whatever. They're going to have to position this as very much the more portable computer, not the less portable tablet. Does this sucker have vents on it? I forgot. Does it have
It has.
Yeah.
It's also quite thick. I have to try to erase my the experience I had with the Surface RT because I was so turned off by the Surface concept that I have to remind myself that this is different, and I feel it's not even fair for me to give an opinion until I go to the local Best Buy and play with one for a bit. I don't think I could ever see myself owning one. But
I was just going to say, are we going to get one?
I don't see the need.
Yeah.
For example,
you can get it instead of a laptop, for instance.
yeah, if you're up for a new laptop and if you
Yeah.
really like Windows 8, and Michael, have you checked the app situation in the Windows Metro store thing?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I have not yet. I keep looking for excuses to use the Surface again, but I still I keep having to do real work.
It's funny. I just asked you that because I've got tiles now. I upgraded to Windows 8 just last week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm in the store now. It makes no sense on
Which
a
is
24
so
inch monitor.
nice to have tiles on a 24-inch monitor, which is not even touchscreen, and just clicking with your mouse pointer on the tile. It's awesome.
Gross.
It's gross. It smells of wasted space. And anyway, so but I keep I spend most of my life on the desktop, and what's interesting is that if you want it to not. If you don't want to like deal in the Metro tile environment, you really don't have to. Like when I launch an app, I press the start button on my keyboard and I start typing, and then the app shows up in the tile interface, and I click, and then I just pin
That's
everything
awesome.
that you can just pin stuff and to your taskbar like Windows 7, and you don't even have to go in there that much. And it's just it's comical when you do, because like you click on the Maps app and you get like a 24-inch. Depending on how big your monitor is, 24-inch rendition of a Maps app that you would have on your smartphone. It's just like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Brandon, in the Metro, so-called Metro X Metro interface, do you click and drag, or do you scroll with the wheel to navigate through the tiles?
Oh, you scroll with the wheel, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to just say something a little bit positive about this, which, on the flip side, after about a week of using the Surface, what I've started to do is I've been on my MacBook Air and I've been doing stuff and typing, and if there's a screen element I want to interact with, about maybe twice or three times a week, I've reached up and touched it on my MacBook Air. and you know what? Like, for all the arguments about Gorilla Arm, and for it is kind of an awkward move and whatever. But you know what? That's probably one of my favorite parts about interacting with the Surface, is being able to do that when it's in its kickstand deployed and keyboard out mode. I really like that. So I think having a touchscreen on laptops will, despite its awkwardness, I think it will eventually become the normal.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's so natural now.
It really is. Yeah, and we're so used to touching the internet directly.
Let's reach out and touch it.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to, at least, even if we don't have an Office one here, going to and spending some time at the Microsoft Store with one, and being approached by somebody in a colorful shirt to experience the new Microsoft. It'll be fun. Winding down on the Windows Phone news, just very briefly, I've got a piece coming on this in like a day or two. It's actually, I think the outline's complete. I just have to, write it, which is always the story. Sprint is going to get its first Windows Phone in a long time. And half the podcast has already skipped ahead to the next topic. Sprint is the smallest national carrier besides T-Mobile in the United States. It doesn't have... There's not a reason a lot of people should get excited about it at first glance. But tune in to Pocketnow on Friday morning, and you will see my arguments for why exactly you should be stoked about this, especially if you're a Windows Phone user. So this was less a news article and more of a teaser and opportunity to pimp my work.
Pimp that.
Yeah. I'll probably ruin it all on the Hangout tomorrow.
Nice.
And finally, now this was a late addition to the rundown because it didn't get in time for last week's podcast, and I wish it had, because there's a rumor that ASUS is considering Windows phones, which, okay, cool, but also possibly a Microsoft-powered pad phone.
I hear that Ford might come out with a one-wheel car, but they're just not. They just scrapped it because it didn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, you think the same thing is going to happen with the Windows pad phone?
I don't think anyone cares about the pad phone. It's a flawed concept.
I do, and I love the concept. I just think it's impossible to achieve at this moment using Microsoft's tools or Microsoft's platforms.
I mean, is that because of restrictions Microsoft places on the
the way the pad phone works is that when you dock your phone into the tablet, which is not a tablet, it's just a screen, all the processing is done still on the phone, and the UI automatically switches to a tablet UI to accommodate the large screen. Now, with Windows Phone, there are three resolutions which are supported, WVGA, and the other two are 1280. You cannot really make it switch to a tablet, and that means the tablet would have to run somehow Windows RT. Or Windows.
No, it wouldn't do that. 8. It would just be blown up live tiles.
I don't think ASUS gonna get a product like that on the market. No. And plus, imagine 1280 by whatever 720 or 768 on a 10.1-inch screen. No.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't look bad in Metro in modern UI. I mean, it would look bad, but it wouldn't look that bad.
If they somehow manage to bridge the gap, which is rumored mid-2013 with that Project Blue, Windows Blue, which will bridge the gap between Windows RT/8 and Windows Phone 8, then yes. Let Windows Phone 8 run the phone. Let Windows RT/8 run on the tablet. Connect the gaps, connect the dots, bridge the gaps, and then yes, this could be a great concept. I'd buy it.
Can I just say something? One of the problems with the pad phone concept is that if you've got your screen, which is basically a dumb screen, and it's in your living room, and you're like, you just woke up and you go into your living room, your phone's still on the charger, and you want to like use your tablet. You're like, oh crap, my phone's in the other room. But
it doesn't have to be in the other room because the tablet actually charges the phone.
But then you have to charge the tablet too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's just inconvenient.
I think, like, it was one of the first pieces I wrote for the site was about the original ASUS pad phone, and I was like, this is a really cool concept if your vision of the future still comes from, no offense, Tony, if your vision of the future still comes from, like, the 90s, where it was like, imagine a phone that turns into a tablet just by plugging in. But I don't think that's where that's where the new future is. I think the new future is having a lot of stuff in the cloud, which I think you hate, Tony, right?
No, I live in the cloud, but I disagree with you.
You just hate Google's cloud.
Yeah. I disagree with you because I think that this will be very helpful for many people, but ASUS failed to make people understand the advantages of the pad phone concept, and the pricing on the pad phone 1 and pad phone 2 was just outrageous. Right. But imagine when I become mobile and work from somewhere else, I'm taking my phone and my tablet or my laptop with me. With the pad phone, I take only one device. Dock your phone into the tablet, have one device with you, it will charge, you have your speakers, and everything is on the phone. So it would be a good thing for me as a user.
Yeah.
Use on crack.
I think, you know what, I would like this product to come to fruition just so that we can talk more about this, because I think this is one of the more I'm usually really invested in our is the pad phone a good idea conversation, but we do have to move on because hopefully we'll get an opportunity to talk about this some more. Let's jump into iOS, and where the news has been slow, but the rumors have been hot and heavy. Yeah.
And guys, we should make something up. Apple's gonna make a phone out of potato chips.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You heard that too. Good. I just added that. Yeah. Entirely starch-based iPhone coming fourth quarter.
You got bored. It's edible. You get rid of it.
Yeah. Emergency ration phone. Yeah. Like I see the point where I retitled the headline on the rundown. Latest iPhone rumors are many, confusing, because there's so many of them. We have this rumor of this 4.8-inch iPhone math, which is probably an error in translation, and a 4-inch low-cost version. And Steven makes a good point in his pieces where he's like, it took so long for Apple to get to the 4-inch screen size. Why would they immediately now jump to a 4.8-inch version? It doesn't make any sense.
It not only doesn't make sense, they don't need to. I mean, if you guys, we are watching the market and where the trend is, and Android is setting the trend with high resolution and huge screens. Mm-hmm. About the smallest screen size you'll get will be the iPhone. All the others will be 5 inches plus. So there's a huge market niche for those like me who prefer smaller screens. In a world dominated by 5-inch smartphones, if you want a smaller phone, you either get a Nokia Lumia or an iPhone.
I have a theory. If iOS 7 isn't groundbreaking and spectacular, it's going to be tough to sell the next generation iPhone when there's so much awesome hardware out there for Android. So what Apple would do is say, well, the truth of the matter is we're losing sales. People aren't buying the iPhone. The iOS 7's not that interesting. Let's cater to different types of users, if only to expand the market, because there are a fair amount of people that won't buy the iPhone because the screen's not big enough or because it's too expensive. And if they solve both of those problems, much to the dismay of Steve Jobs, they would sell a lot more phones. I think it would be cool to have a 4.8-inch iPhone, to be honest, and I think they could do it.
Let me speculate on this just for a second. Apple has lost the specifications war a long time ago. The iPhone 5 still rocks a slower chip than most of Android phones. They took their time to get to dual-core processors, not to mention 1 gig of RAM. So the spec war has been lost.
Well, I think they threw the spec war. I mean, I think they were like, they looked at the spec war and they said, "You guys go ahead and measure your Ds.
Exactly.
We're going to make a good product." Yeah,
and that's what I was about to say. That it's because of the business model. The iPhone works as it is. So this is why I think that the next iPhone will not be that much about hardware improvements, though we will see some, but the main selling point will be software. Totally. And that's whatever iOS 7 will bring.
Yeah.
And if iOS 7 will not come, or it will be as boring as 6, and there will be no hardware improvements, that's going to be the start of the decline for Apple.
I would agree, and I would further say that the next iPhone stands a good chance if those OS improvements come, if we see a revised interface paradigm for iOS, the next iPhone stands a good chance of being the one that I buy and use for a little while.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Do you guys agree that the next iPhone, whatever its name will be, is about the most important phone Apple has ever released because it's a make it or break it phone?
I would say, and I'll just jump right in. I would say that the one after this coming one, I think they've got one more. I think they've got they could do a 5S that's not terribly impressive.
So you think they can pull an S?
I think they can pull an S, yes. I think they have enough time to do that. I think if they pull a 5S and then do another unimpressive one, then they're in some degree of trouble. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Brandon?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Don't bother me about that.
Why am I getting all these messages all of a sudden on Skype?
You're getting messages on Skype? Are you getting Skype spam?
Skype has been very weird lately. I just got like a year's worth of IMs in like 5 seconds, and it stopped.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Everyone get bought by Microsoft. It'll make it better.
Yeah. We'll make your app full screen.
We've been having, listeners, if you haven't been able to tell, we've been having Skype problems on our podcast today, and we are going to look into an alternate means of delivering the weekly to you, so thank you for bearing with us. Before we leave iOS, we have one more thing from just today. Is that right, Tony?
That is true, and the latest numbers from Kantar World Panel are in. And we had some previous numbers in November where Apple was recording a historical high in terms of market share in the US. And the latest numbers are ending just before Christmas, so they don't contain Christmas gifts and activations. And iOS is still dominating the US market with 51.2%, followed by Android with 44.2%. And RIM is, of course, sinking from 6.1% last year to 1.1% this year. And Windows Phone is well, I don't know, stagnating maybe. I mean, 0.4% in 1 year from 2.2 to 2.6. I'm not sure that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, I think Windows Phone is a special case because their big new revised push didn't come until later in the year. So, but it's interesting that the iPhone, if what I'm hearing is correct, the iPhone adoption rate in the U.S. is so very different than it is worldwide. Like, it's much higher in the States than it is globally.
Yes, that is true.
Which is interesting.
That's
Meanwhile,
because
Android is kicking iOS up and down the avenue all over the rest of the world. It's like 75%, isn't it?
And that's just normal because Apple is using a different business model for other countries. For instance, if you buy an iPhone 5 unlocked from Apple for $649.99 in the States, you'll buy it for £649.99 in the UK or €649.99 in Europe.
Right.
So the iPhone is a very expensive phone in Europe, while Android phones are cheap. Compared to the iPhone. Even if you buy the highest end one, is still cheaper than the iPhone, except in Romania. If you buy a Lumia 920 at the same price as the iPhone 5, which is crazy.
Yeah, not to call out another publication on the podcast, but Sam Biddle at Gizmodo had a really cool piece called what was it? Android is popular because it's cheap, not because it's good. And it was a good example of an article that actually was really good despite its clickbaity headline. But
it's true to a certain extent.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, and that's where that kind of nuance is what is the first thing to die in a comment section, of course. So I think last time I checked, the Gizmodo headquarters was being burned to the ground. Rabid fanboys. That's thank you for tying up the iOS category for us, Tony. I was struggling getting news for that. It's just amazing how, like, unless you're butted right up against WWDC or another Apple event, the company, for as far as it's fallen in recent years, as far as secrecy goes, it still manages to keep a secret better than almost any company out there, I think.
Even though that was not the case with the iPad Mini and the iPhone 5.
Right, yeah, well, that's true. The iPad Mini was maybe the worst kept secret ever out of Apple. But yeah. So it's, it's tough. We kind of, the iOS fans out there kind of have to subsist on rumors, but it's okay because, that's what we do. We bring you rumors and speculation in addition to hard news. So before we wrap it up for the show, I wanted to tell our listeners that we had an email transition recently, and I am very happy with the results, but one of the unfortunate side effects is that we lost all of our listener mail. So make sure and send us some new listener mail, as you are very good at doing, listeners, so that we can field your questions and comments at the end of each Pocketnow Weekly that we have time for. But before we wrap it up and before I give you that email address, gentlemen, do you have closing thoughts for today?
Yep.
Yes.
Completely unrelated. Tune in tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, for a live hangout with the Pocketnow team. Brandon Miniman, Michael Fisher, myself will be there. And on a weekly basis, we'll meet with you guys. Come over, say hi. Let's do some live boot up tests and have some nice casual debates about everything mobile.
That is going to be awesome. Do we have anybody else from the team coming tomorrow?
So far, it's the three of us, but everybody on the team is welcome to join. So I'm going to send some emails out to the guys, some reminders, because the initial email went out.
Yeah.
And the worst case scenario, it's going to be the three of us. Best case scenario, it's going to be more.
I have an idea for the Pocketnow Live tomorrow. Let's talk about something entirely different. Let's talk about not what we talked about today. It'll be fun.
That's the entire idea. It's going to be completely different from the Pocketnow Weekly podcast.
We'll just talk about whatever comes to our minds.
That's good. I'll get my cigars ready.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not allowed to smoke in this office building, but for closing thoughts, a few smaller announcements relating to video. They are small, but they're things that I think we're all excited about. Number one is that we're launching a YouTube channel redesign with some new imagery and fun stuff.
Yes.
Number two is that we have a new intro coming. We have our Pocketnow video intro. Which all right, well done. Yes,
Thanks.
But this one's going to be a lot shorter, a little bit more punchy, because no, that's too. It'll be more interesting than that. It'll be to the point because people really don't want to sit there and watch an intro. We like having an intro, so you know what kind of video you're watching. And the third bit of news is that in the near future, in the next few weeks, you're going to see a new guy on video, perhaps a couple of new guys on video. Still working that out. And so we're doing some cool stuff in Video McGee land.
Are we going to do hazing? Are we going to do like a crazy Pocketnow hazing ritual?
What do you think we should do for that?
I think we should drop some Kyocera Echoes and Microsoft Kins in a big sock and just wail on the new guys with them.
That's
My
good.
ideas are not clean for the clean tech, so no.
I think the worst possible thing we could do is give them either a Kin, a Kyocera Echo, or an Optimus View, and make them use it as their daily driver for a year.
That is an awesome, awesome idea.
That will drive them insane.
And record the progress every week.
Yeah. Week 37. I didn't get much sleep last night. I haven't eaten either.
I keep getting haunted by grammatically incorrect dialogue boxes, and my fingers ache from holding this unwieldy POS.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, we will look forward to the new faces on the team, and I'm really looking forward to the new intro. The new intro combined with our YouTube redesign makes us look like
the persons we are.
Yeah, but
That's
also
enough of a teaser.
like the people we are. But yeah, if CSI was cool, that's what it makes us look like.
It makes it look like we know what we're talking about.
Right, which I think at least 15% of the time is true for me. You guys are probably close to 80%.
I'm at 16. So,
Oh, good. Oh, nice.
Just because I've been doing it longer.
Right.
But.
Well, good. Well, if you listeners want to hear more from the guys who at least 15% of the time know what they're talking about, tune in for all that fun. But for now, that's going to do it for episode 28, or 028, of the Pocketnow Weekly. And find us on Twitter. As I say before, Anton is at Anton D. Nodje, Brandon is at Brandon Miniman, and you can find me at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow Tweets, Pocketnow on Facebook and Google+. Leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music. That is still important to us. And if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the podcast, we need them all over again. Or if you just want to say hi, email us, podcast@pocketnow.com. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well done.